Well, you could have brought your mom too.
So you have to eat, right?
Not really. They tried.
Yeah, the daffodils, yeah.
Daffodils,
Yeah.
There was something in,
Keeping in touch.
so it's almost, I didn't see all of them.
The names in there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, just this past one?
The one with
No, the one before.
Yeah, she did get us in touch.
Since we don't have meetings anymore. That's quite an oddity, Bill. I'm like, oh, we do this. Makes a difference, doesn't it? Nice to see the words. For my second performance. Make them go off again.
everybody ready? Okay, so whenever you're ready, Colleen, you can start.
Okay. Good morning, Humber Valley, and welcome to our May hymn sing. This will be our last hymn sing until we break for the summer, and we'll have the next one on September the 17th. So my name is Colleen Isherwood. I've been a member of Humber Valley Church for almost 40 years, and thank you for joining us today, either in person or online. We've got a wonderful lineup of songs today, some familiar and some new, and we even have one song that was penned by St. Francis of Assisi 800 years ago. So, first of all, you've noticed things look a little different today. There's all kinds of chairs and things. That's because we're having a concert by the Centennial Choir, Etobicoke Centennial Choir, tonight, and that's why everything looks a little different. We might look a little sparse, but we're all here. And so, first let me introduce you to our singers today. Our group is led by our wonderful choir director, Jill Diane Fillion, on the piano there. Our group of singers has a new name. We're now called Valley Voices. We've been changing names quite regularly recently, but I think this one will stick. First we were called Joyful Noise, but then we decided that we didn't really want to make noise. We wanted to make tuneful music. So then we changed it to Joyful Chorus to reflect that idea a little better, which hopefully more accurately represented our sound. But although our choir is grounded in Humber Valley United Church, we want to reach out to the broader community. That's why we have our name now. It's called Valley Voices, and starting in September, we'd like to reach out and invite members of the community to sing with us. The more singers, the merrier. That's why we decided to give ourselves this name. I'd also like to thank George Turnbull, who's at the back, providing audio and video for us today. We have a lot to celebrate this week. First of all, it's Mother's Day tomorrow. That's why our first hymn is so appropriate. It's called Mother and God. It's found in Voices United, hymn number 280, and we'll sing the whole thing because it's not that long. Okay. I think this week is my favorite week of the year. It's the week that the bare trees suddenly grow leaves and blossoms. The cherry blossoms are out in High Park, in Centennial Park, and it's the perfect time of year to celebrate God's creation of the natural world. Our next few songs are all about that. They're joyous, they're celebratory, and for many of you, they're also very familiar. The first song is one I first heard in summer camp. It's called It Only Takes a Spark. This hymn can be found in Voices United, number 289, and we invite you to sing verses 1 and 2.
Thank you.
I'm sure everybody who's here or tuning in today will recognize our next song. I'm pretty sure it was one of the very first hymns I learned in Sunday school. The words are by Cecil Francis Alexander and were first published in Hymns for Little Children back in 1848. This song is All Things Bright and Beautiful. It was composed by William Henry Monk in 1887. The tune is. All Things Bright and Beautiful can be found in Voices United, number 291, and we'll sing verses 1 and 3. The next hymn is also a perennial favorite. So it celebrating God's world. Many of us first knew this song as This Is My Father's World, but the words were changed in recent years to reflect the inclusivity of our church. Sing it loud. It's now called This Is God's Wondrous World, and it can be found in Voices United, number 296. We'll be singing verses 1 and 2. We are indeed very fortunate living in Canada, and our next hymn, Water Flowing from the Mountains, sounds like it's been written about Canada, possibly about the Western Mountains or British Columbia. It's a newer hymn written in 2003 by a man named Jim Hanna and put to music in 2006 by David Melham Bow. It has a beautiful and very catchy tune. This hymn can also be found in More Voices, number 87, and we'll be singing verses 1 and 3.
Water flowing
I like the words to the next song. It's a song of praise to the Maker. The thrush sings high in the sky. This next hymn urges you and I to join our voices in the holy cry and to sing, sing, sing to the Maker too. This hymn can be found in More Voices. It's number 30, and we'll sing verses 1 and 4. The next song could have been written about Canada too. It's called God Who Spread the Boundless Prairie. So it was written by Herbert O'Driscoll in 2002. He was born in Ireland, but he lived much of his life in Canada, and he worked as a naval chaplain. In both his hymns and his published sermons, he uses traditional techniques to set forth contemporary concerns so that his work is very approachable. God Who Spread the Boundless Prairie is found in More Voices, and it's number 53. We'll sing verses 1 and 4. Our next song is called Each Blade of Grass. It's also known as Circle of God. Circles are sacred symbols in almost every spiritual tradition. They represent things like eternity, inclusion, and completion. The lyrics of this hymn suggest that every part of creation makes God full and whole. So, this hymn comes from More Voices, number 37. We'll sing verses 1 and 3. And now we come to the hymn that was written 800 years ago by St. Francis of Assisi. And Jill's going to move over to the organ here so we can hear the organ for this song. St. Francis of Assisi was born in 1181 in what's now called Italy, and he's credited with the lyrics for our last song, All Creatures of Our God and King. They're adapted from the Canticle of the Sun, a poem that he wrote during his last year of life. At that time, he was very weak and struggled with temporary blindness. St. Francis wished to express the unity and the joy that he felt with nature and the feelings of peace he experienced as his earthly life drew to a close. Nearly 700 years later, music editor Ralph Vaughan Williams published the version of All Creatures of Our God and King that we know today. The hymn can be found in Voices United, number 217. We'll sing verses 1 and 3. Thank you very much, everybody. I wanted to talk a little bit about tomorrow. We're having a very special service at Humber Valley. We're going to have our choir, the Valley Voices. We're going to have Drew with his crew of musicians, and we're also going to have the handbells. So it should be a very special Mother's Day service. In closing, let's close with a prayer that comes to us from Australia. Bow our heads. Loving God, Lord of heaven and earth, this earth, our home, belongs to you. Give us grace to love it as you do. Give us courage to give ourselves as you do, for the good of all people and all of your creation. Strengthen us to stand, as you do, with the vulnerable poor. Give us wisdom to know when we have enough, and the voice to say, enough, to all that harms creation and hurts the poorest. This earth, our home, belongs to you. Amen.